something seems to be going on this mysterious continent at the South Pole.
There have been a number of reports of pyramids, huge great pyramids, in Antarctica.
The bitter cold landscape of Antarctica is filled with mysteries and fascinating finds that will push the boundaries of your imagination. From frozen mountains buried deep under the earth to tiny human skeletons that might not be from this planet, join us on this epic adventure as we bring you some of the most mysterious discoveries in Antarctica. 600-million-year-old human skeleton. Back in 2022, a group of paleontologists exploring the majestic Whitmore Mountains in Antarctica stumbled on the breathtaking remains of a tiny human lodged within a rock. This team of researchers were searching for dinosaur fossils as part of a study to determine whether this extinct species lived in Antarctica before the continent split from Africa and South America. While scouring the frozen landscape for massive bones or preserved remains of exotic dinosaurs, they came across a large sedimentary rock housing a human skeleton that's at least 600 million years old. The age isn't the only unbelievable part of this discovery, though. You see, the fossil they found wasn't your typical human skeleton, but a very tiny complete body, measuring just 11 inches long. After confirming that this was indeed a human skeleton, the scientists were faced with two pressing questions. How did humans get to Antarctica 600 million years ago, when that was the same time jellyfish just began to evolve? And why was this ancient human so tiny? To solve these mysteries, the fossils was transferred to the National University Research Institute in Washington, D.C. for further analysis. According to the resulting findings, this was not an alien fossil or another species, but 100% human. However, those two questions remain unanswered till today. But if indeed there was an ancient species of humans that stood mere inches tall, it could change everything we knew about our evolution and the history of our planet in general. The Gamburtsev mountain range. Did you know that there is a mountain in Antarctica that no one has ever seen with their naked eyes? Buried within the icy depths of Antarctica is a massive natural monument the size of the European Alps. Known as the Gamburtsev Mountains, this 100-million-year-old mountain is characterized by steep ridges and completely entombed in ice, and is buried in the ice that's up to 10,000 feet thick, which means it might probably never see the light of day till the lights go out on our universe. So, if no one has ever seen it, how was it discovered then? Well, that's thanks to the brilliant efforts of an international group of scientists who conducted an extensive study on the site between December 2008 and January 2009. Using advanced ice-penetrating radar instruments, the dedicated team of researchers uncovered a network of subglacial streams and lakes flowing through the deep, long valleys within the mountain ranges. Despite being so old, this stream provides a frozen mantle that protects it from erosion, making the mountain appear younger and rougher on the outside. On the very rare occasion that the Antarctic ice shelves melt, the peaks and ridges of the Gamburtsev would become one of the highest mountain ranges on the continent, as it would stand at over 10,850 feet above sea level without the ice. The deep, long valleys, cirques, and jagged, narrow ridges revealed during the exploration proved that the Gamburtsev Mountains have been chiseled by glaciers at some point during its evolution. But scientists believe this only started 45 million years ago, as our planet became colder and colder. It is also quite possible that this mountain towered over the landscape millions of years ago, before Antarctica became a frozen landscape. Lake Vostok. The deep, dark, and mysterious waters of Lake Vostok is another intriguing discovery in Antarctica. Recognized as the largest subglacial lake in the world, this massive lake is currently buried 2.5 miles under the ice near Russia's Vostok research station. This lake has been under the ice, cut off from all light sources for over 1.5 million years, creating one of the most extreme environments on the planet. However, some researchers believe it may have been buried for much longer, probably around 20 million years ago. Measuring 140 miles in length and 31 miles across, Lake Vostok is also recognized as the largest freshwater lake in the world, both in size and volume. Towards the south side, the waters can be up to 0.6 miles deep, but the northern and southwest corners are relatively shallow. The first time the world got to know about this lake was in the 1960s, when a Russian geographer and pilot noticed a small patch of ice while flying above the lake. What Russian scientists discovered in Antarctica terrifies the world. However, it wasn't until 1993 before scientists were finally able to scan the site using satellite-based radar and confirm the lake's existence. Brent Christner, a biologist from the Louisiana State University, was one of the researchers who examined the ice cores collected above the lake. He believes that the lake's only water supply is the water melting from the overlying ice sheets. Since the water is constantly being replenished, the water could be a few thousand years old, which is still pretty insane to think about. Thanks to the geothermal heat from the Earth, the temperature of the lake usually hovers around -3 degrees Celsius, and the water is able to stay liquid due to the weighty pressure of the overlying ice. In the 1990s, Krishna led an expedition that discovered the microorganisms in the lake water, and after thorough analysis, he postulated that the lake must be brimming with unique organisms that don't depend on sunlight for their metabolism. They have learnt to adapt to the dark abyss and derive their nutrients from the water and the underlying bedrock. Some scientists even believe that the conditions here could mimic life on our moon and other planets, such as Europa, Jupiter's icy moon. Although the remote location of the lake has made research difficult, more studies are being conducted to unlock the hidden secrets of this ancient water body and the organisms that may exist within its depth. Blood Falls. In the vast and icy expanse of Antarctica, the Blood Falls stands in all its glory, a true symbol of nature's artistic abilities. Located in the McMurdo Dry Valleys, this crimson-red fall pours forth from Taylor Glacier, and for many years, the mystery behind its yellowish-red coloration remains unsolved. This enchanting sight was first discovered in 1911 by an Australian geologist named Griffith Taylor. This was during one of those early Antarctic expeditions, and at the time, Taylor attributed this bizarre color to the presence of red algae in the Wirth. For nearly a century, this became the basis of an endless argument, as several other scientists brought up theories that countered the algae hypothesis. In 2009, a researcher from the University of Tennessee named Jill McCookie discovered living organisms in the lake under the glacial. 17 different types of microbes were found living in the dark, oxygen-free waters, and each had developed a coping mechanism by drawing energy from the readily available sulfur and iron. Then, in 2017, a team of scientists explored the internal structure of the glacier using a special ground-penetrating radar. This was when they discovered a network of fissures in the bedrock and tunnels in the ice, forming a buried saltwater reservoir, which then feeds the waterfall. Finally, some scientists from the University of Alaska and Colorado College solved this mystery using a combination of several advanced analytical methods. After careful study, they concluded that iron plays a role in this color change, but not in the way everybody thought. You see, when this iron-rich water reacts with oxygen, it forms iron oxides and hydroxides, which then result in the characteristic color. In addition to this, the water's high salinity, as well as the presence of other elements like chlorine, magnesium, and sodium, also plays a huge role in giving the water its eerie appearance. So, there's no hidden monster bleeding behind the ice shelf. It's all 100% natural. A whole new world. Back in 2021, researchers discovered a previously undiscovered ecosystem locked away in the Larsen Ice Shelf, a massive, floating piece of ice attached to the eastern coast of the Arctic Peninsula. It all started with satellite photos showing an unusual groove in the ice shelf, close to where it met the land. Scientists would later identify this feature as a subsurface river, which they found after drilling down around 1,640 feet below the icy surface. When they sent a camera down there, the lens was swarmed by tiny crustaceans known as amphipods, who apparently have made their home in the cold, dark depth of this water body. Who could have imagined that right in the middle of the frozen Antarctic, there would be a shrimp-infested water body? It was a revelation that ignited a level of excitement in the scientific community, and this was majorly because it confirmed a hypothesis that beneath Antarctica, there is a vast network of rivers, lakes, and estuaries. However, being the loneliest and harshest places in the world, scientific expeditions to the continent are few and far in between, so these networks remain poorly studied. Thanks to the precious footage recorded by the camera, the scientists discovered that the cavern looked very different from what they had predicted. While the scientists expected the roof of the chamber to be smooth and flat, what they discovered was an uneven roof with lots of steep undulations. As more studies are conducted on this site, more fascinating discoveries await in the bitter cold landscape of the Antarctic. Fossilized sea monster. While Antarctica is majorly considered a frozen wasteland today, scientists have reasons to believe things weren't always this way. Millions of years ago, this remote continent was home to some of the most fascinating species you've ever seen, a dinosaur known as Elasmosaurus. This well-preserved fossilized remains was uncovered by a group of scientists working on a small and desolate island located off the Antarctic peninsula. They believe the Elasmosaur swam the sea during the Cretaceous period, alongside the rest of the dinosaur, and that it would have weighed as much as 15 tons while it was alive. The appearance of this bizarre creature mimics that of a giraffe, with its long and snake-like head. As soon as the skeleton was discovered, the Argentina Antarctic Institute got involved and kickstarted the excavation process in 2012. However, things moved at a very slow pace due to the limited resources available and the extreme conditions of the fossil's location, and it wasn't until 2017 before it was fully recovered. What makes this 40-foot dinosaur interesting is how it fits into the general timeline of evolution, as scientists believe the Elasmosaurus roamed the sea just 30,000 years before the mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs some 66 million years ago. Ancient rainforest. Scientists have recovered the remnants of an ancient rainforest that thrived on the continent of Antarctica before it became a desolate wasteland. During a February 2017 exploration, they stumbled upon the fossil remnants of this particular forest in a sediment core retrieved from the ocean floor of the Amundsen Sea using a portable seafloor drill attached to the research ship RV Polarstern. This ancient sample reportedly contained forest soil collected some 90 million years ago and brimming with fossilized plant pollen and spores, including some of the earliest known flowering plants. After conducting several CT scans, researchers noticed a dense network of fossilized plant roots in the soil so clearly defined that you could see the individual cell structures. So, even though there are little to no plants growing in Antarctica, the situation could be entirely different millions of years ago. The location of this discovery is also very intriguing, because back in prehistoric times, a lush Greenland, known as the West Antarctic Forest, existed just 560 miles away from the South Pole, experiencing a relatively mild climate. These plant remains indicate that about 93 to 83 million years ago, the West Antarctic coast was a swampy landscape, with a temperature that allowed a lush rainforest to flourish, similar to the rainforests that exist on our planet today. The findings also suggested that the icy expanse of Antarctica experienced abundant annual rainfall during this period. And since our planet was relatively hotter at the time, there was little to no ice sheet in sight on the continent. But how then did our planet cool down and gradually bring back the ice sheets? How did the green forest of Antarctica get wiped out by the sweeping ice? That mystery remains unsolved till today.
The Thing. Back in 2011, some Chilean researchers came across a strangely shaped egg some 660 feet away from Seymour Island, Antarctica. The true identity of the animal that lay the egg became an enchanting mystery that many scientists tried to solve but failed. What didn't elude them was the age of this football-sized egg, which they estimated was around 68 million years, which means it was most probably laid by a dinosaur. For many years, the thing sat in the National Museum of Natural History in Santiago, Chile for many years, until 2018 when Julia Clark, a professor of vertebrate paleontology at the University of Texas, and David Rubelar Rogers, paleontologists at the museum, got into a conversation about how no fossilized eggs have been discussed in Antarctica. On a hunch, David decided to show Clark the thing, kickstarting the process that led to its identification. After careful and thorough study, the scientists finally concluded in 2020 that the egg was laid by the mosasaur, an ancient reptilian monster that lived during the Mesozoic period. Prior to this discovery, though, scientists believed the mosasaur was viviparous, which means it gave birth to its live young, rather than lay eggs, so this new discovery changed everything. But that's not all. It has also been recognized as the largest soft-shelled egg ever discovered, the only mosasaur egg ever found, and the second largest egg in the world right now.
World's largest fish breeding ground. The Weddell Sea, located on the eastern side of the Antarctic Peninsula, is home to a massive colony of fish that's been recognized as the most densely populated fish breeding ground in the world. Stretching for about 92 square miles, this colony is home to countless icefish nests, surviving and thriving under the brutal conditions of the Antarctic. The story takes us back to February 2021, when a German research ship called the RV Polarstern broke through the Weddell Sea to study marine life. After sending a video camera and some other instruments close to the sea floor, they came across over 12,000 fish nests, each measuring just 75 centimeters wide and occupied by a single adult icefish. Each of these nests contained up to 2,100 eggs, and the nests stretched on as far as the eyes could see. Icefish can grow up to 60 centimeters and have evolved an impressive adaptive ability allowing them to thrive in the nutrient-deficient waters. To survive the bitter cold, icefish produce antifreeze compounds, and they're the only vertebrates known to have colorless and hemoglobin-free blood. But the first exploration couldn't capture the sheer size of this breeding ground, and subsequent missions eventually revealed that there may be as many as 60 million nests, making the icefish one of the most dominant species in the region and a key player in the local ecosystem. Since spotting this colony, scientists have left cameras and lights just above the densest part, in the hope of learning more about the breeding and nesting behavior of this unique species. Colossal squid. Lurking beneath the bitter cold waters of Antarctica is the colossal squid, a creature that blurs the line between fiction and reality. Imagine a magnificent beast measuring between 33 and 46 feet and weighing as much as 1,000 pounds, making it the largest squid species ever discovered in terms of mass. However, the most recognizable feature of this species is the eyes, which are considered the largest of any known creature, with a diameter of between 11 to 12 inches, which is about the size of a football. Generally, the anatomy of the colossal squid is similar to other members of its family, although it's the only member with hooks on its arms, suckers, and tentacles. It has a mantle for movement, one pair of gills for respiration, a beak or tooth, 8 arms and 2 tentacles, a head, and 2 fins. Unlike other members of its species, the colossal squid experiences a strange case of gigantism, which makes it way bigger than any other squid in any of our planet's oceans. The first specimen of this extremely rare species was discovered in 1925, and then in 2003, a second specimen was also collected. But the star of the show was the largest colossal squid ever found, discovered in 2007 and weighing about 1,091 pounds. Found primarily in the Antarctic waters, these beastly beings make their home in the Weddell Sea, as well as the western Kerguelen archipelago. Due to their elusive nature, though, very little is known about their feeding habits, but scientists believe they majorly feed on large fishes like the Patagonian toothfish, as well as smaller squids. There are also signs that the species may exhibit a bizarre case of cannibalism, although that has not been thoroughly confirmed. In the 1960s, news headlines around the world carried stories about a new discovery, claiming that what Russian scientists discovered in Antarctica terrifies the world. While exploring the icy expanse of the frozen continent, a Russian scientist accidentally stumbled on the world's largest freshwater lake, Lake Vostok, a natural enigma that still astounds scientists till today. In the mysterious wonderland of Antarctica, findings like these remind us of what this place must have looked like millions of years ago, before the continent froze over. Which of these discoveries shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments section below. Now, let's get back to the video. Giant terror birds. Millions of years ago, gigantic terror birds standing at up to 9 feet tall dominated our planet with their ferocity. These extinct species were brutal predators who mercilessly crushed prey with their horse-sized skulls. But until recently, scientists weren't sure if Antarctica was home to this strange species. That was until two researchers, Carolina Acosta Hospitaleche and Washington Jones, uncovered undeniable evidence that terror birds also ruled Antarctica back in the day. While digging through the Seymour Island, located off the northernmost part of the Antarctic peninsula, Jones and Hospitaleche found two Unnungal phalanxes belonging to the terror birds, and by comparing the claws to those of other species, they determined that these fossilized remains belonged to a South American terror bird identified as Phorusrhacos longissimus. Although they disappeared a long time ago, terror birds are some of the largest birds to have ever existed, which makes them an apex predator in their time. They also possess the physiology of a hunter: formidable legs, enormous skulls, hooked beaks, and razor-sharp claws to tear their prey into pieces. Scientists believe this species most likely preyed on small and medium-sized vertebrates, including marsupials and even other weaker and smaller birds. Considering their size in comparison to humans, there's a chance we might have been on the menu as well if our timelines had overlapped. Luckily for us, these terrifying species went extinct during the Great American Biotic Exchange, a prehistoric natural event that unfolded after a land bridge formed between Panama and Colombia. This allowed for other predators more powerful than the terror birds to invade their territories, threatening their existence. Although the exact conditions that led to their mass exodus remain unknown, scientists have reasons to believe that this event marked the beginning of their end. Hitler's bunker. Between January and February 1939, a top-secret German expedition made a historic journey to Dronning, Maud Land, in Antarctica. Rumors swirled that the plan was to build a base for the German Supreme Leader Adolf Hitler. Everything went silent after this until August 1945, after the Germans surrendered, when two U-boats suddenly arrived in Argentina, carrying goods and passengers that aroused some suspicion from the general public. Stories began to spread that the U-boats secretly transported Hitler and his beloved partner, Evan Anapala, to a clandestine base in Antarctica, where the dictator supposedly spent the rest of his life in isolation. As crazy as this theory may sound, a lot of people actually believed it, but that's not where it ends. Between 1943 and 1945, British authorities launched a secret operation to Antarctica, codenamed Tabarine, bringing in some of the most elite servicemen in the Special Air Services Regiment to carry out a mission that the public never knew about. Many conspiracy theorists took this as a sign that the British Army was trying to capture the Antarctic German base, or even Hitler himself. Then, in 1946 and 1947, the United States Navy launched the highly classified Operation High Jump, a very classified operation that many interpreted as a massive invasion of Antarctica. Fast forward to 1958, and the continent witnessed 3 nuclear explosions as part of another United States operation called Argus. Given the confidentiality of these operations and the timing which coincides with the end of World War II, it's not surprising that a lot of people concluded that the United States and Britain were trying to locate and destroy a German military base. However, there are more than a few problems with this theory, one of which is the fact that Hitler's body was found in his bunker after he took his own life on April 30, 1945. Added to that, these previously classified missions have recently been unveiled to the public, and there's no indication of any German objectives or any related missions in the released files. And in addition, these missions took place far away from Dronning, the spot where the Germans explored in 1939. So it's safe to say this secret bunker only exists in the imaginations of the conspiracy theorists. Shackleton Endurance Shipwreck. In 1914, after the start of the First World War, an explorer named Ernest Shackleton launched an ambitious expedition to cross Antarctica. His plan was to take 27 men on 2 ships, Endurance and Aurora, arriving at different locations on the continents, so each ship would then explore 2 routes leading to the remote continent. But during the perilous journey, his ship Endurance became trapped in the ice in January 1915, and tried as they may, Shackleton's men couldn't dislodge the ship from its entrapment. For months, the explorers were stuck in this vessel, until the pressure from the ocean began to slowly crush it. So, on October 27, 1914, Shackleton finally ordered his men to abandon the Endurance with only the things they could carry, since the deterioration made it hard to reach the supply room. On November 21, 1915, the ship finally succumbed to the ocean's pull, sinking fast into the icy cold depths of the ocean. For over 100 years, this wooden vessel remained buried within the icy waters of the Weddell Sea, until a group of explorers located it again in 2022, sparking widespread excitement. The missing ship was found 10,000 feet below the water's surface, but the craziest part is that it's so well preserved that the archaeologists who found it called it the finest wooden shipwreck in history. Thanks to the water temperature, the materials used in the construction have remained fairly intact, and you could still see the name Endurance etched on the side of the ship. To maintain this structural integrity, the archaeologists decided to leave it untouched, securing the spot as a protected historical site under the Antarctic Treaty. This means that even though it will be extensively studied and filmed, the ship will remain undisturbed. Today, the Shackleton Endurance shipwreck still sits in the same spot it's been for over 100 years, and it remains one of the most fascinating pieces ever found on the icy continent, the deepest point of the Antarctic. At over 24,000 feet below the water surface, the Factorian Deep of Antarctica's southern ocean is the deepest point in the continent's ocean. This incredible finding was made public in 2019, when scientists published a detailed map of the Southern Ocean, identifying the spot as deeper than any other previously known depth. To give you a perspective of how deep this place is, imagine 17 Empire State Buildings stacked from top to bottom, which is pretty astonishing to think about. Victor Vescovo, the American explorer and entrepreneur, located Factorian Deep during his 5 Deeps expedition to map the deepest point in the world's 5 oceans. For now, little is still known about what goes on at these depths and the bizarre creatures that probably live there, and although we know where it is, the secrets of Factorian Deep remain locked beneath its cold, dark waters. Elephant seals. While most animals would run away from the bitter cold water of Antarctica, the elephant seals have developed a thick skin in exchange for access to one of the thriving food sources on the continent. Southern elephant seals, or Mirunga leonina, live in the sub-Antarctic, a place that's rich in fish, squids, and other marine species seals love to feast on. Perhaps the most peculiar feature of these seals is their sheer size. Famed for being the largest of all seal species, male elephant seal can grow up to a staggering 20 feet in length and weigh up to 8,800 pounds. This massive body size positions them as apex predators, with little to no predators hunting them. However, their size isn't the reason they're called elephant seals, but their trunk-like inflatable snouts. That's the hallmark of their appearance. Unfortunately, even though these seals have no serious natural predator, mankind has found a way to trim their population just to harvest their oil. Due to this overhunting, elephant seals almost went extinct at one point. But thanks to stricter protection measures, their population has bounced back significantly, and they've been thriving in the unforgiving ecosystem of Antarctica. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.